It's a sad truth that beginners buy a lot of crap when they start with climbing and mountaineering. Let me help you with this. Hey guys, welcome to the High Ground. My name is Fabio, and today I want to talk especially to the beginners in our midst about what they shouldn't buy. Now, I often say it, people tend to try to compensate lack of skill and lack of experience by buying a lot of gear. And this actually works to a certain degree because the more skill you have, the lighter you can go. But it is not an infinitive answer to anything that might happen to you in the mountains. And especially beginners tend to buy stuff that they will maybe use for a month, maybe for 2 months, and someday down the line they will buy something else. I will give you some pointers what you should try to avoid, which gear you don't need in the beginning, so that you can actually save some of those hard-earned dollars. Because climbing and mountaineering is expensive enough as it is, especially in the beginning. Now a little bit on my background. I spend roughly 200 days per year in the mountains. I'm in the Swiss mountain guide course. Currently, I'm not active in this one because I got injured and have to train back up, but I will get back to it. And I already worked with a lot of beginners and had the pleasure, and it's really a pleasure, to introduce them to the mountains. However, I often see that they make some very specific mistakes when it comes to their gear, and this is what I'd like to talk to you about today. Now let's start with one of the first things beginners buy, their harness. And this is actually not to knock on the people from REI or any other climbing shop when they sell stuff to people, because they are not in your body. So what beginners do and tend to do is that they buy very cushioned climbing harnesses, which are also quite heavy. And I even saw it that they buy climbing harness for different purposes. So maybe this harness, because it's so cushioned, for climbing and sport climbing. This harness because it's a little bit slimmer and has attachments for ice screws for mountaineering, right? And I would say, don't do it. I myself, regardless what I do, I wear this harness. I wear it for sport climbing, I wear it for mountaineering, I wear it for alpinism, I wear it for ski touring, with one small exception that I will show you a little bit later. And it's really my all-round go-to harness. And why I wear this harness is because it fits. Now, everybody will tell you that a harness has to fit. The issue there is, if you go to a climbing store or any outdoor retailer, you don't know what right feels like. So you can put on a harness and you might feel that one is comfy and one is not so comfy, but that can actually only be because, it is very heavily cushioned. But you actually don't know how you want to wear your harness. So my suggestion is, go to the rock gym where they actually have loaner harnesses. Talk to a mountain guide. Most mountain guides have loaner harnesses they can give you for a tour. And then find out how a harness should actually sit on your body, on which height you want to wear it, how tight you want to have the leg loops, etc. And based on this experience, go out and buy a harness that will last for a long time, instead of just buying anything that is heavily cushioned because you don't know how right feels. Now, I was talking about only wearing one harness, and that's what I do 90% of the time. I have one exemption, and that's this guy here. This is an ultralight harness that I solely wear for ski mountaineering. And it has the advantage that it's A, super light, and B, it has detachable leg loops, so I can open up the loop and slip into the harness. The same for the waist loop, without having to pull it over my boots. because that's very difficult with skiing boots. The next thing that you will also buy pretty much in the beginning is one of these guys. This is a semi-auto belay device. It's the Mega Tool from Edelrid. From Edelrid. And this is not to knock on the Mega Tool. Mega Tool is a fine tool. But beginners tend to look at all the variety of semi-auto belay devices that are out there, and then they just pick one. And then they come up with an obscure device like the fish or something like that. I would suggest, if you really start sport climbing and you're looking for partners and you want to get into the scene, get yourself a gree-gree. I know people might now hate at me, but the gree-gree is the most well-known belay device. It works very well for sport climbing. I would say there is no device that works actually better. And only after you mastered the gree-gree, you mastered an ATC tube device, only then you should look at more, well, out of the ordinary devices like the Mega Tool that can actually take up 2 ropes, etc. So for the beginner, hey, just take the gree-gree. It's the simple solution and it's the right solution. Another thing that I see people buying are expensive slings. Now, slings are important, and you should always make sure that you have a checked and quality sling. So I'm not talking about buying slings on Wish. But you should also think about if you really need a Mammoth sling or a Petzl sling, which are quite expensive. There are a lot of other sling manufacturers out there which are as safe as the aforementioned, but which just have a lower price tag. And at the beginning, people always want to buy the best thing, but really look at sales in your outdoor retailer, right? Sometimes you can really grab 10 slings for 20 or 30 bucks, and those slings are still good, right? They can still be sold. You will find the manufacturing date on the small ledgers they have here. So yes, buy quality slings, but don't always go with the well-known names, but look around and buy really the most cost-effective slings, because this is, basically this is usable material, right? You will throw them away fairly early, especially if you're not used to handling them, because then you will scratch them over a lot of rock and then you should just replace them. And the last thing is something like this. This is a ladder. Now, this ladder has a very specific use, and it's actually a nice piece of kit. But I had a beginner bringing such a ladder to a sport climbing event. And then you just wasted your money. Now, those ladders, as I said, have a specific purpose, but don't buy exotic stuff until you actually need it, right? I see a lot of beginners on very easy mountaineering tours where all the necessary parts are bolted and they carry a hammer and pitons, right? That's just not necessary. It's a waste of money. And yeah, while you might be able to use pitons and a hammer later in your career, if at all, this synthetic material just gets worse and worse the older it gets, and you might just throw it away without really ever having used it. So save that money and invest it in train tickets to your next climbing location and get some good experience in there. Now, those were some very basic tips, what I just often saw that people buy but don't need in the beginning. You might notice that I didn't include clothes and everything that you can wear, like backpacks, in here, because there it's really a little bit different. And in terms of the value they provide, I think that high quality outdoor gear in terms of clothes actually makes a lot of sense. I love my Arc'teryx stuff. The Deadbird is super expensive, but It's what I really wear day after day after day after day after month after year, right? And it still holds up. So I would say, assuming that your body composition will stay fairly much the same, then you can actually go with a little bit more the expensive version on the clothes side, because I feel that there it really makes a difference. But it also only makes a difference if you know how to layer it. I made a tutorial about this topic. If you're interested in it, I'll link it below or somewhere up here. And yeah, these were already my main points where you can save some costs. So you might see the big lines, big takeaways here are, hey, don't buy gear too quickly, just try things out and see what fits for you. Stay within the pack when it comes to belay devices if you are not 100% certain that you need something that is more specific or extraordinary. And really avoid buying stuff that is super expensive just because of the brand name, if it is a perishable item. And the last thing, don't buy unnecessary stuff, technical equipment. You don't need a full set of camelots for your first sport climbing trip. Lean back, get some good quick draws, get a good rope, get a fitting harness, some good climbing boots, and that's it. Now I hope this video was helpful for you. I really appreciate the time that you spent here. If you found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to follow the channel. It's very important for us. Click the little notification bell so that you get an update whenever we publish a video. That generally happens every Monday and every Thursday. Monday is Mountain Monday. And yeah, again, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.